Freedom of expression, the ability to say what you want and hear what you want and read what you want without somebody else censoring your ability to do it. Most importantly, the government. But of course, in the culture, people use freedom of speech as a concept much more broadly.
In the community context, we have reason to worry that the speech of some might suppress or drown out the speech of others.
Figuring out what freedom of expression means is figuring out what the limits are in one's right or freedom to express themselves. Each society and each system of government has to figure out how to define it because you have a lot of competing freedoms. Free expression in the academic setting is very complicated because an academic setting is where people develop intellectual capacities through open, robust exchanges in the classroom.
The academic environment is not your classic public forum. Scholars have to be allowed to research and reason and teach as they believe, even if that is offensive by certain groups.
I tell my students, if you can't stand to look at the arguments you find repellent, you won't be able to respond to them as lawyers when you encounter them. I like living in a world where people can say what they're thinking, even if I'm repelled by what they say. Other minds are interesting. I'm curious about how they work. I want to be the kind of person who doesn't fall apart or feel the need to summon the authorities when I'm faced with the truth about what you think.
On the other hand, if you have students or scholars saying things that inflict harm, depression, or anger on these vulnerable groups, you are going to be threatening the performance of the educational function, which is itself, ironically, protected by the First Amendment.
You know, it often seems like free speech and free expression are used to support hateful ideas, are used to support ideas that harm other people. And so we have to both strive to have a community that's genuinely welcoming for everybody and be careful about how we regulate free expression with the awareness that those regulations can oftentimes be used well outside their intended purpose.
Free expression enables us to have a democracy in a meaningful way. What's sometimes called the negative theory. It says, look, we have free speech not so much because of all the positive good things that it can do. Rather, we have free speech, even in spite of the problems it may cause, because of all of the bad things that could come from giving government the power to censor.
We have to protect the rights of many individuals we seriously disagree with, whose views we find completely offensive.
When we go out to protest something, sometimes we do that not necessarily to change minds, but to proclaim to the world who we are and what we believe in.
If we can't talk to each other about that, we are likely to end up with a very different kind of world.
Free speech isn't simply a right, it's actually a series of dilemmas over and over and over again, and they run deeply inside of people and our nation's history. That's what makes it so exciting.